You ever walk into a room and feel your soul physically leave your body? That was me. A year ago, Tuesday night. I'd just come back from New York red-eye flight. Zero sleep. 2 days of back-to-back investor meetings for our startup, NovaPath AI. I was exhausted but hyped. We'd secured a verbal commitment for 2 Ml seed. Big deal. I figured I'd swing by the loft to surprise Becca, my co-founder and best friend, and maybe more. But that part was messy. I picked up her favorite banh mi on the way, even got the extra cilantro she loved, walked in, and there they were. Jude Lang, our advisor/mentor, sitting on my damn couch, with Becca on his lap, literally, laughing like they were the only people on Earth. Becca was in my hoodie, the navy one from our first pitch at TechCrunch, the one I let her borrow when she spilled coffee on herself mid-rehearsal. That one. They didn't even flinch when I came in, just froze. Awkward silence. My brain took a second to register what I was looking at. And then Jude had the audacity to go, "Leo, man, it's not what it looks like. UTF, do you even say to that?" I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just dropped the bag of sandwiches on the floor and stood there for a solid 10 seconds, completely numb. Then I turned around and left. No one followed me. Flashback 2 years earlier. When Becca and I met, it was one of those cliché but electric two minds click moments. She was all confidence and wild ideas. I was the systems guy, calm, analytical, but secretly dying to prove I wasn't just another quiet engineer in a hoodie. We started NovaPath in a WeWork with 2 laptops and a dream. Jude came into the picture after our seed round. He was like, this Yoda meets LinkedIn kind of guy. Spoke in buzzwords. Bragged about his exits. Everyone said he was a legend in the valley. I was honestly flattered he even took our meetings. And he took a liking to Becca. I noticed. But I didn't think much of it. She's magnetic. People gravitate toward her. But I never imagined this. Them. The days after. I crashed at my friend Raj's place for a while. Didn't go back to the loft. I didn't even grab my monitors or clothes. I just couldn't face it. Becca sent one text. "I'm sorry. We didn't mean for it to happen this way." I didn't respond. What's the point? That sentence alone was a lie. If they didn't mean for it, they wouldn't have let it. Jude, ever the corporate manipulator, emailed me some BS about misaligned expectations and emotional boundaries in startups. Like he was writing a damn blog post. Not explaining why he was hooking up with someone who literally slept on my couch during demo week. Meanwhile, the board chose their side. Guess who stayed on as CEO? Not me. Apparently, continuity mattered more than betrayal. 1 week later, I officially resigned. Signed a mutual separation agreement that basically paid me to shut up and walk away. They threw in some equity just to keep me quiet. Fine, keep your damn startup. I was pissed. Humiliated. But more than anything, I was disoriented. Like someone had taken my GPS and spun it around for fun. I packed what I could into 2 suitcases, bought a one-way ticket to Austin, and started over. In Austin. At first, I felt like a ghost. No one here knew me as the guy from NovaPath. No awkward run-ins at Blue Bottle, no whispers at meetups, just fresh air and tacos. I started consulting, quiet gigs, back-end architecture, ML ops stuff. Nothing flashy, but steady. Eventually, I launched a tiny AI tools studio, Slate Code. Just me and a designer I met at a local dev conference. We didn't have Series A money, but we had focus. And no board full of snakes. 6 months later, the first ping. Becca emailed me. Subject line, "Hope you're well, let's talk." I didn't even open it. Blocked. That same week, I got tagged in a tweet. Someone was subtweeting Jude, roasting him for giving a keynote at a VC summit titled Founders Trust Building with Integrity. I laughed so hard I nearly choked on my cold brew. Now. Present day. I tell people I left San Francisco because of burnout. They nod. It's a good lie. Clean. But the truth is messier. I left because I couldn't stomach how fast people switched masks. Becca was more than a co-founder. I thought we were building something meaningful, not just a product, but a life. And Jude? Man, he was supposed to be someone I looked up to. Turns out it was all just smoke, and money, and bullshit. But here's the real twist. I'm not even angry anymore. I'm clear. And that scares the hell out of people like them. Because I didn't just move on. I moved up last month. Out of nowhere. I got this super random email from someone named Emily Tran. She said she was coordinating speakers for the Tech West Founders Forum in Denver and wanted to invite me to be part of a fireside chat titled Second Chances, Healing and Rebuilding. After co-founder breakups, I read that line 3 times. Something about it immediately felt off. Like, the topic was weirdly specific. And this Emily chick never heard of her. The email was overly friendly, like she knew me already. Hi, Leo. I've followed your journey with Slate Code and think your story would really resonate. We'd love to hear how you've turned pain into progress. Pain into progress? What the hell? At first, I figured it was just a standard phishing attempt. But then I saw the other panelists listed Becca Lynn Novapath AI, Jude Lang Lang Ventures. I swear, I felt my jaw literally lock. My hands were shaking while scrolling. They were trying to trap me. Again. Dress it up as a panel. And reconciliation or whatever the hell PR term they thought sounded sweet, but it was the same crap. Just another way to control the narrative. Invite the guy you screwed over. Paint it like he's okay with it now. And boom, redemption arc unlocked. I didn't even respond to the email. I just closed my laptop and went for a walk around Zilker Park until the rage burned itself out of my skin. But then, 3 days later, I get a DM from Kevin Torres, my old DevOps guy from Novapath. He had left the company maybe 6 months after I did, couldn't stand the culture shift. Apparently. Said he missed the early days. Back when we were broke and staying up until 3 a.m. pushing out hot fixes in my living room. He sent me a screenshot. It was a promotional banner for the panel. On it, a photo of me, old headshot from LinkedIn, the one where I still had longer hair. Right between Becca and Jude. Like we were some kind of trio that overcame adversity together. I wasn't even confirmed. I hadn't said yes. They used my image anyway. Yo, Kevin wrote, "This feels shady as hell. You cool with this?" No, I was not cool with this. So I replied to the email, short, sharp. Remove my image from all event materials immediately. I am not attending. I was not asked. This is deceptive and absolutely not okay. They replied within 30 minutes. Emily was so sorry for the misunderstanding and thought we had implied consent from an earlier outreach. Bullshit. There was no earlier outreach. They just hoped I wouldn't notice. Or maybe, and this pissed me off more, maybe they thought I'd want to be part of it. Like I'd be grateful to sit on a stage next to the 2 people who blew my life to pieces, hold a mic, and say shit like, "We've all grown from the experience." Screw that. Anyway, the thing that really broke me wasn't even the fake invite or the image. It was what Kevin said after, "Dude, did you know they're telling people you ghosted the company?" I blinked. What? Like, the story Becca tells at mixers and dinners is that you just burned out and vanished. She says you couldn't handle the pressure and kind of emotionally spiraled, and she and Jude had to carry Novapath forward. I sat there staring at the message for a full minute. They rewrote history, made me look like the flake. The weak link. The guy who couldn't hang who quit, not because he was betrayed, but because he was too fragile for the startup world. And of course, they left out the couch, the hoodie, the betrayal. The part where I walked in on them and didn't scream, I just left. They erased it. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept racing through old Slack logs, pitch decks, photos from the early days. Us on beanbags eating takeout. Me debugging the ML engine while Becca wrote user stories on the whiteboard. Jude bringing boba and offering advice like he was some benevolent tech dad. And now they were out here acting like I just evaporated. Nah, That's when I decided something needed to change. Not revenge, not the petty kind, but truth. I wasn't going to let their version be the only version people heard. So I wrote a blog post, titled What I Didn't Say When I Left NovaPath. I didn't name names. I didn't slander. Just told the story the way it happened. Calm, honest, no rage, no drama, just facts. I talked about how trust in early-stage companies isn't just about money, it's about people. And when people break that trust in private and try to polish it in public, it damages more than reputations. It rewrites reality. I talked about rebuilding, about how starting Slate Code wasn't just about launching a new project. It was about reclaiming the narrative. I hit publish at 1 a.m. By 8 a.m., it had 12K views. By noon, Hacker News picked it up. By 3 p.m., Becca had blocked me on every platform. 3 days later, I got a message from Maya Wren, our old UI/UX lead who'd left NovaPath around the time I did. She said, "Just read your post. You're not crazy." We all saw it. We just didn't know what to say back then. That sentence made me cry, like actual tears. I don't cry. But that hit something deep. The blog post didn't go viral, but it made the rounds. And for the first time, I felt like I had taken control back. I wasn't letting people speak for me anymore. And then, the Denver conference. Turns out, they went ahead with the panel anyway. But it tanked. Badly. A friend who was there texted me. Jude tried to open with a "we've all made mistakes" line. And the whole room just went quiet. People knew now. The vibe had shifted. They weren't untouchable anymore. A week after the panel, I got another email. This time from Jude. "Leo, I'd like to clear the air. If you're open to a conversation, I think we all made missteps. But there's an opportunity to move forward." I stared at that email for 10 minutes. Then I hit delete. No reply, no screw you, nothing. Because silence. Silence is the most powerful response sometimes. And me not needing to be in the room. That's the loudest presence of all. I'm not trying to be the hero of this story. I'm just done being the villain in theirs. I don't want applause. I want peace. And I finally feel like I'm getting it not because they gave it to me, but because I stopped asking. You want to rewrite history? Cool. Just don't forget I still have the receipts. Last week, I was at a local startup mixer in Austin, one of those casual rooftop things with overpriced drinks and undercooked sliders. I mostly go to support a few folks in the ecosystem, not because I like the vibe, but this one felt different. I was mid-convo with a back-end dev from a health tech startup when I heard a voice behind me say, "Leo Chambers." I turned, already bracing myself for some awkward investor pitch or unsolicited demo link. Instead, it was Sarah. Full name, Sarah Lang. Yes, that Lang, Jude's niece. We'd met once. Briefly. Years ago. During one of NovaPath's early fundraising dinners. She was sweet, quiet, an associate at some mid-tier fund back then. We barely talked beyond a "nice to meet you" and a shared joke about the crab cakes being undercooked. Now she stood in front of me, holding a club soda like it was a shield. "I didn't know you were in Austin," she said, nervous smile. I gave her a tight nod. "Been here a while." She glanced at the ground, then back up. I read your post. The one about NovaPath." I didn't say anything. She swallowed hard. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For what happened. For how it was handled. For how he..." She stopped. "For how they let the story spin." That caught me off guard. She wasn't the enemy. She hadn't been part of the inner circle. Hell, she was probably caught in the crossfire just like everyone else. Still, I didn't expect anyone from that orbit to break the cone of silence. "I appreciate you saying that," I said quietly. She nodded, but her eyes were watery. Then she leaned in and said something I wasn't ready for. "He's not doing well, Jude. He's kind of burned a lot of bridges. Got booted from 2 boards last quarter. One of the LPs in his fund pulled out after a harassment complaint from another founder." I blinked. That wasn't what I expected to hear, not even a little. I stayed quiet. She hesitated, then added, "I'm not telling you that to make you feel better. Just, I thought you should know." A lot of us believed him for a long time. We were wrong. And just like that, she walked away. No ask, no request, just a truth bomb, dropped mid-slider. That night, I lay in bed next to Maren, my partner of a year and a half, staring at the ceiling. She turned to me in the dark and whispered, "You okay?" "I think Jude's finally facing consequences," I murmured, "real ones." She was quiet for a moment. Then, "And how does that feel?" Honestly, I didn't know. A few days later, I got a DM from Miles, one of our first interns at NovaPath. Back in the day, he used to call me Captain Focus because I once made him rewrite a unit test 6 times until it passed clean. He's now working for a nonprofit AI lab, doing good stuff. Humble guy. He wrote, "Hey Leo, random question. Any chance you'd be cool with me quoting part of your blog post in a talk I'm giving next month? It's about founder ethics and public narratives. That line about how betrayal doesn't always wear villain costumes, sometimes it just holds the mic longer, really stuck with me." I stared at that message for a while. That sentence, I barely even remembered writing it, but reading it now, damn, it hit different. "Of course," I replied, "use whatever you need." He sent a thumbs up emoji, then followed it with, "We need more founders like you, real ones." I felt something shift in my chest. Later that week, I finally unboxed the last few things from my last move. Yeah, I'd been in the same place for over a year, but there was always one box, the procrastination box. Old notebooks, wires, junk drawer vibes. At the bottom, I found something I hadn't seen since San Francisco. My NovaPath launch badge. The first demo day we ever did, the one where we stayed up for 36 hours straight, perfecting the prototype that kept crashing in the last 5 seconds of every test. I held it in my hand and laughed. It still had Becca's doodles on the back. She'd drawn a rocket with our initials in it, B+L. I sat on the floor and just stared at it. Not with anger, not even sadness, just quiet acceptance. I'd loved that version of my life. Deeply. Even now. Some part of me still loved it. But it was over, like an old t-shirt that doesn't fit anymore. You don't burn it. You just stop wearing it. About a week after that, I got another letter. This time from Becca. Handwritten, real paper, not an email, not a DM. A physical envelope with my name on it, sitting in the mailbox like a ghost from a life I'd buried. I didn't open it right away. It sat on the kitchen table for 4 days. On the 5th, Maren picked it up and asked, "Want me to throw it out?" I hesitated. Then I said, "No, I'll read it." She nodded, kissed my forehead, and went for her run. I opened the letter alone. It started with a line I didn't expect. "I don't deserve forgiveness, and I'm not asking for it." Okay, off to a strong start. She went on to say she'd spent the last year re-examining everything and realized how much she let ambition override decency. She didn't justify what happened. She didn't try to soften the edges. She admitted to the betrayal. Admitted that Jude had manipulated her. Admitted that she'd participated willingly and then let me carry the fallout alone. She said she read my post 3 times before crying. Said it took her that long to stop defending herself inside her own head. "I always thought you were the strong one, Leo. That's why I let you go, because I figured you'd be okay. And now I see how cruel that was. Because strength doesn't mean indestructible." That line cracked something in me. She closed the letter by saying, "You don't ever have to respond. But if you do, even just to say go to hell, I'll read it. Fully. Quietly. And I'll accept it." I folded the letter, placed it back in the envelope. Didn't reply. Not because I wanted to punish her, but because I finally didn't need anything from her. No validation. No rage. No closure. She could keep the words. I already had this piece. Maren and I went out for dinner that night. Nothing fancy. Just tacos from a food truck and cold beers on the hood of my car under string lights. She asked me, "You okay?" I nodded. "Yeah, I think I finally am." She smiled, held my hand, and said, "Good. Because our kid deserves the healed version of you." That one caught me. Yep, we're having a baby. Due in the fall. A boy. And no, he won't have my last name. Not the one I was born with. Anyway, I legally changed it last month. New name, new legacy. One I built, not inherited. You know what the real revenge is? Not the post. Not the silence. Not the karma. It's living a life so full, so honest, so rooted in actual love and integrity that the people who hurt you have no part in it. No access. Not even as a footnote. Becca and Jude. They'll fade. Their story will fade. Maybe they'll reinvent themselves again. Maybe not. Doesn't matter. I'm already somewhere else. Mentally, emotionally, legally. They tried to bury me, but I wasn't dead. I was just planting new roots. ChatGPT said, 3 weeks ago, I ran into my dad at Whole Foods. No warning, no build-up. Just aisle 7 mid-debate between oat milk and almond. And suddenly he's there, same flannel jacket he's worn for the last 5 years, pushing a cart full of frozen meals and bananas. He froze. I froze. Time did that weird slow-motion thing it does when the past slams into the present. I hadn't seen him since the day I left San Francisco. He spoke first. Leo. I looked at him. Really looked. He looked smaller. Older. Less like the guy who used to talk over me at every family dinner. More like someone's confused uncle who took a wrong turn into a new version of reality. Hey, I said, no emotion, just habit. There was a long pause before he said, you look good. Healthy. Yeah, I replied. I am. He nodded like that was all he came to find out, but I knew better. His eyes kept darting, trying to figure out if he should say more, or if I'd bolt. He settled on, your mom's not doing well. Ah, there it is. The hook. The soft guilt grenade. I didn't bite, just let him sit in the silence. She misses you, he added. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. She missed me. When she let Jude back into the company, or when she helped Becca spin that bullshit story about me emotionally burning out. He flinched. Leo. We didn't know what else to do. Things moved fast. Right, I said. Because letting the guy who stabbed me in the back sit at the head of the table again, that was urgent. He didn't argue, just rubbed his eyes and sighed. Then he said something that I actually didn't expect. I left her. Your mother. 2 months ago. I blinked. What? She's still living in that same house. Still pretending like none of it happened. She can't let it go. The image, the family dinners, the holiday cards. She still has that photo of all of us at your first demo day on the fridge. The one where I'm in the center, arms around Becca and Jude. I told her I couldn't keep playing along. He continued, not after the last time. What last time? He hesitated. She invited them over. Becca and Jude. On your birthday. I laughed, bitter and sharp. Wow, that's bold, even for her. He nodded. I walked out that night. Haven't been back since. We stood there, surrounded by almond milk and overpriced vegan crackers, locked in this bizarre limbo of honesty and history. Finally, he said, I'm not asking to fix anything. I needed you to know that not everyone stayed in the mess. I stared at him, weighing the man I remembered against the one standing in front of me. I appreciate that, I said, and I meant it. But I'm not ready for more. I get it, he said. Take your time. Or don't. I just wanted to look you in the eye and say sorry, for what it's worth. Then he left. No ask. No demand. Just walked away like someone who'd finally decided to stop pretending. I stood there for a while before grabbing the oat milk and heading home. When I told Marin what happened, she listened quietly, sipping her tea. Do you believe him? She asked. I don't know, I said, but I didn't feel anger. Not like before. That's something, right? She nodded. That's growth. Or maybe peace. Or both. A few nights later, we were lying in bed, and she asked me, do you ever think about writing it all down, not just the blog post, like the whole thing, a book? I laughed. Who the hell would read it? People who've been through hell. People who've had their version of you betrayed, silenced, cut out, and are trying to figure out if they're allowed to feel rage or if they're just supposed to move on. I turned and looked at her. You think I could do that? I know you could. I didn't answer right away. But something about the idea started to crawl into my brain and settle there. Maybe telling the story wasn't just about closure. Maybe it was about legacy. A week later, I finally opened that old Google Drive folder labeled Nova Archives. Stuff I hadn't touched in years. Meeting notes, pitch deck drafts, investor call recordings, Slack exports. It was like digging through a graveyard. My graveyard. But there was gold in there, too. Old messages where I'd mapped out the AI system that became the backbone of NovaPath's first product. The architecture doc Becca called unreasonably brilliant in the margins. Audio clips of Jude saying things like, "You've got the clearest product vision of anyone I've ever worked with." Funny how fast admiration turns to erasure. I pulled pieces from the archives, not for revenge, for clarity. Started drafting chapter outlines. No fluff, just raw. And then, the universe, being the chaotic little bastard it is, threw in one more twist. I got an email from Bloomtech, a think tank I'd consulted for once in the early days of Slate Code. They were hosting a closed roundtable on ethical co-founder dynamics and wanted me to speak. No public audience, no recordings, just a room of execs, VCs, and founders who wanted real talk. At first, I said no. Too tired. Too done. Then I remembered what Marin said. And I remembered the people who don't get to walk away, who are still stuck. So I said yes. The room was full of polished people with polished smiles. But when I started talking, not pitching, not performing, just talking, something shifted. I told them about the couch, about the hoodie, about the silence. I told them how betrayal doesn't always come with knives. Sometimes it brings coffee and says, "You're overreacting." I told them how startups aren't just built on code and capital, they're built on trust. And when that cracks, the whole foundation shakes. I didn't name Becca. I didn't name Jude. Didn't need to. The room heard me. And after, 3 different people came up to say, "That happened to me too." One guy said, "My co-founder funneled half our Series A into a separate company. I didn't find out until he tried to pitch the same product under a new name." Another whispered, "My CTO slept with my wife. We still raised $10 million the next quarter." Yeah, I wasn't alone. Not even close. That night, I got a call from my sister. We hadn't spoken much in years, not out of anger, just distance. She was younger, didn't know all the details, but she'd read the blog post. "I just wanted to say I'm proud of you," she said. "And I'm sorry I wasn't more present back then. I didn't expect that, but I appreciated it more than I could say." "Thanks," I said. "It means a lot." Then she asked, "What would you say now? If you could go back to that night, the night you walked in on them?" I paused. "Nothing," I said. I think silence was the most honest thing I had. This morning, I added a final chapter title to my book outline. Chapter 12, Quiet Isn't Weak. It's just done. Because I'm not bitter. I'm not angry. I'm done. Done letting people twist the story. Done giving energy to ghosts. Done looking back. The funny thing is, I used to think closure would come from some dramatic showdown. Some moment where they finally looked me in the eye and said, "We fucked up." But closure didn't come from them. It came from me deciding they didn't matter anymore. That their approval, their guilt, their timelines, none of it had weight in the world I'm building now. And that's freedom. A few days ago, I was scrolling through LinkedIn during a break, mostly habit, not interest, when I saw something that made me stop mid-swipe. Becca Lynn had posted a long-ass update about navigating betrayal in the startup world. Yeah, you read that right. She was painting herself as the betrayed one. The post was full of vague phrases like when a co-founder walks away from their responsibilities and healing from professional abandonment. It had the usual polished vibe, all soft pastels and LinkedIn wisdom. And to top it off, she included a photo of her smiling at a conference podium like she just invented resilience. Over 800 likes. Comments like, "So inspiring," and "Thanks for being so vulnerable." I sat there just staring at the screen, heart thudding in my ears. Was I surprised? No. But I was furious. There she was, co-opting the language of pain she caused, wearing it like a badge to get more clicks, more sympathy, more damn funding probably. I slammed my laptop shut. Marin walked into the room and paused. Uh-oh. That looked like an aggressive close. She's playing victim now, I muttered. Marin raised an eyebrow. Becca. I nodded. What's she saying? I pulled the laptop back open, showed her the post. Marin read it, face blank, until she finished and said, "Wow, that's creative." She's literally rewriting the whole thing. I said, "She flipped the story so clean it's like I never existed." Then Marin said something that stuck Leo. Everyone who matters already knows the truth. Yeah, I knew she was right, but damn, it still burned. Later that day, I went for a run to clear my head. Mile 3 in. It hit me. I wasn't mad because people might believe her. I was mad because she believed her. Somewhere along the way, she convinced herself her version was real. That she didn't just help sabotage a company and a person, she survived something he did to her. Twisting the knife into a martyr's ribbon, that's when I realized I didn't need to fight her anymore. Her whole existence had become a carefully curated theater production. She could play the lead in her tragedy all she wanted. That was her cage now, not mine. A week after that, I met with a publisher. Yep. The book idea became real. A friend introduced me to an editor who specialized in non-sappy, real-ass founder stories. And I thought, why not? We grabbed coffee at a spot downtown. He was blunt, which I liked. I read your blog, he said. Good stuff. But if you're going to write the book, don't hold back. No LinkedIn fluff. No healing arcs that skip the rage. Good, I said, because I've got rage. He grinned. Then let's burn some pages. So I signed. Nothing huge. Small advance. Indie label. But I didn't care about the money. I just wanted the story out. Unfiltered. Meanwhile, Slate Code kept growing. Not crazy unicorn speed, but real growth. Solid users. A team that actually respects each other. A product we believe in. You know, normal wins, not the fake kind you brag about on social media while dying inside. One morning during our stand-up, my lead engineer Anna dropped some wild news. Hey Leo, some guy from a fund in SF emailed, said he used to back NovaPath. Wants to talk about possibly investing in us. I felt my stomach twist. What's his name, I asked. Trevor Beck. Trevor. Fucking Beck. He was one of the first VCs who backed Jude. The same guy who pulled me aside after a pitch once and said, Leo, I love your mind, but Becca's the face of this company. You get that, right? Yeah, that guy. I told Anna, thanks, but no thanks. We're not taking his money. She didn't ask why, just nodded. That's why I trust her. Later that day, Trevor sent me a direct email. Leo saw what you're building at Slate Code. Very impressed. Would love to get on a call, talk through what a future round might look like. I replied with 2 words. Hard pass. He never wrote back. 2 nights ago, Marin and I were setting up the nursery. Paint rollers, new light fixtures, all that nesting stuff that somehow makes the future feel real. She found an old shoebox in one of my closets, opened it, and pulled out a Polaroid. It was a picture of Becca and me. Back in year 1 of NovaPath. We looked so young. I was in that beat-up hoodie. She had marker stains on her fingers from whiteboarding all night. We were both laughing like idiots. Marin held it up. You want to keep this? I took the photo, stared at it for a beat. Yeah, I said, but not because of her. Then why? Because it reminds me I was there, that I mattered, that I built something real, even if the people around me faked it. She nodded and tucked it into the bottom drawer. No judgment. This morning, I got a text from someone I hadn't thought about in forever. Miles, the intern. He said, Hey, I was at a meetup last night. Some founder mentioned NovaPath like it was a cautionary tale. I laughed. Told him the real story. Just thought you'd want to know your truths out there. Quiet, but steady. I smiled. That's all I ever wanted. Not fame, not revenge, just for the truth to have a place to land. It's funny, people always act like moving on means forgetting, but it doesn't. Moving on is remembering exactly what happened and choosing not to let it define your entire damn life. Becca can have her staged authenticity. Jude can pitch whatever new vaporware he's cooked up. The old crew can pretend it was all just business. But me, I'm over here building something that doesn't need a lie to stand. Next week, we're launching a mentorship program through Slate Code. Not some fake tech incubator fluff, real support. Founders who've been through it helping others navigate the mess. I'm calling it Redraft, because sometimes you don't get to erase the old story. But you can write a better one on top of it. Marin asked me the other night, if you could go back, change one thing, would you? And honestly, no, not because I liked what happened, but because what came after taught me who I really was. Not the visionary, not the quiet genius, just a guy who survived betrayal, grief, gaslighting, and came out the other side still telling the truth, still building, still loving, still here. Let them keep their panels. Let them post their curated pain. Let them chase a version of themselves they can live with. Me, I'm building something I can raise a child inside of, and I'll teach him this. You don't always get justice. You don't always get the apology, but you do get to choose who you become after the fire. And sometimes, becoming that person, that's the loudest revenge there is.